Hi, everybody. We continue our Bible study about Joseph's life. I entitled this specific one, Jacob Goes to Egypt. We are going to go through Genesis 46, whole chapter, and Genesis 47 from verse 1 to 12. So, what happened previously was Joseph discovered who he was. That was in second of command in Egypt, more like a pharaoh, and sent his brothers to get his father Jacob to Egypt since he was a famine in the land of Canaan. So let's go. In chapter 46, verse 1 is where we are right now. So Israel set out with all that was his. Israel is Jacob. As we know that God um, gave him another name from Jacob, gave him Israel. So don't get confused with the country Israel. It's the name of Jacob. So set up with all what was his. What it means, he prepared everything that was his. He gathered everything that belonged to him. And when he reached Beersheba, it is a city or town in Canaan. He offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Offer sacrifices, like they have to, in that time they have to kill an animal and build an altar and kill that animal on the altar, more like an offering, sacrifice offering to God. That was in that time. And guess what happened? Verse 2, and God spoke to Israel, to Jacob, which was Jacob, in a vision at night. In a vision, so vision, it was not a dream, it was a vision. So vision is a little bit different than the dream. That means Jacob did not sleep for the night. He was praying. He was had doubts about going to Egypt with all what he had, with everybody else, all his descendants. They were with him, with children, grandchildren, all their flocks, everything. So he had a second thought. But guess what? As he was praying, he had a vision in the night. Was God speaking to him through a vision? And he said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. Verse 3, I am God, the God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. So God answered his fear, his thoughts, his concern. Wouldn't you be to go in a different country? You didn't even see your son for so long. And he says now he's alive. And totally strange country, different language, different culture, different of everything. I can relate with that. So people that they come from different country, emigrating in different one for better life, of course. Maybe because in the country is either communist, famine, uh, I don't know. Whenever the problem is, they have luck, and they approve to come to different country. Those people can relate. You have the fear that what you leave behind wouldn't be, to stay there. What should you do? Why should you go there? Where, like you start everything from the beginning. Language, you gotta sit in a land that is not even yours, and so forth. But God tells him, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. Verse 4, I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again. and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. So God make sure talk to him after he offered sacrifice to God. Then God showed himself in a vision, telling him, assure him that everything is going to be okay. You will die in the land, but what it says, I will surely bring you back again. So bring back into their land. It's temporary. So they know how temporary it will be. Will be they thought maybe till they pass all this with this famine, since it was so bad, dry land, nothing grew for some time. Imagine 7 years not to have a crop to grow. Imagine. We cannot even think about like 1 year. How about 7? But there's not yet. So it's, I'm not sure how many years they are already into it. Um, for sure, a couple of years, but there's more to go. So they knew if they don't go, they will perish with their flocks, with everybody else. And that land will serve for nothing if they stay there. All right, let's go next. Verse 5. Then Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's sons took their father Jacob and their children, which is one part they say Jacob, one part they say Israel. It's still Jacob. I go with Jacob, that will distinguish who is who, okay? So pretty much then Jacob left Beersheba, and Jacob's sons took their father's Jacob, well, Israel's sons, well, Jacob, took their fathers Jacob and their children and their wives in the carts that Pharaoh had sent to transport him. So the carts that Pharaoh sent, they put everything in there. So Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt, taking with them their livestock and the possessions they had acquired in Canaan. Jacob brought with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons and his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. Now, as we know, it's mentioned in the Bible, and what it pays attention to all his sons. But now it's mentioning for the first time right now, he has daughters and granddaughters. Because, for example, in their culture, and I'll say the religious in Jewish, is recognized the male, because the male carries the name, continue to carry the name of the father, and continue like from generation to generation, they carry the name of their fathers. And that's why the in that, I say, in that culture, in that religion, in Jewish tradition, they do not acknowledge much of the daughters. So that's why they are not quite mentioned, but they were mentioned here. These are the names of the sons of Israel, Jacob and his descendants, who went to Egypt. So it's all this. I found this map, and as you can see, somewhere like where it says Canaan and Jordan River, and then here Beersheba, where he built an altar to God and prayed. That's very specific, to build an altar to God in that time to pray. And it's like all the everybody's listed. Is a long list, who is who and all that. We're not going through that. I put them on, but we don't have to go because it is a lot. And I don't want you to get confused. But we jump to verse 26, and because they say exactly how many they went from Canaan to Egypt, and all who went to Egypt with Jacob, those who were his direct descendants, not counting his sons, wives, number 66 persons, with the 2 sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family which went to Egypt, were 70 in all. All right, so we're 70 in total people who well, it says even Joseph's the two sons, they put those as well. Otherwise, it would be 68, but they because they were born in Egypt, they put like all Jacob family, 70 all in total. Wow, that's a large family. Imagine to have a family like that, 70 people. Wow, that's amazing. All right, verse 28. Now Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get direction to Goshen. So Jacob said, Judah, why he's directing Judah? I told you guys that last time that Judah is significant in the history in the Bible because David came from Judah and Jesus came from Judah. And then so Jacob is trusting Judah now and sent ahead of time to tell Joseph that they're coming and to direct them where to get to Goshen. When they arrive in the region of Goshen, now Goshen, I think I mentioned last time in the Bible study, we had a previous chapter. Goshen was one of the best Egypt had. It was water, um, lands fertilized with water, everything what you can think of what you need, especially for the livestock, for the cattle, for sheep, whenever to eat there, to eat grass. So they were like say the best in whole Egypt. That was the land. Now I know, right? Recently, I heard it was a prophecy saying that we are actually right now um, in the Goshen time, in that time when Joseph was, we are like 7 years and 7 years after. I don't know about exactly. I didn't ask God about it to discover me, but it says we have 5 years and a half into the to gather the crops into into the land because it's going to be 7 years after that famine. I don't know, um, but and people that say they build their Goshen, like buy lands, put fruits and vegetables, like trees of fruits, you name it. Some they buy even cows. So it's what it was by a prophet. But I say I didn't hear from God yet. Probably, well, I say it's like people of God, they will always have and have enough. And I will not worry about that part yet. All right, so when they arrived in the region of Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel, which is Jacob. As soon as Joseph appeared before him, he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. I think those tears were gathered for all these years when he missed his father so much. And he knew his father, around his father, he had everything what he needed and he wanted. He was acknowledged for who he was, for abilities, for his personality, his character. His father was with him, made him the coat of a multicolor, and it was a bondage between Joseph and Jacob before, since he born, because he was the firstborn of Rachel and he loved him very, very much. But even though Joseph loved his father back, and so he wept for a long time. Just those tears he gathered for so long, and now he had to get them all out. It's was sometimes we have like that with God. We go astray, we go away from God, but then when we find God, we get into God's arms. I'm talking like, okay, in the spirit, like we get into God's arms and we weep, like Joseph did in this specific scenario. So, verse 30, Israel said to Joseph, which is Jacob, now I'm ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive. I think that was his prayer, you know. When he left, I'm not sure how many days of journey, doesn't specify, but when he left, keep me alive that I can see my son Joseph. And now I say now he probably is ready to die. Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and speak to Pharaoh and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were living in the land of Canaan have come to me. So he's going to talk to Pharaoh now. But Pharaoh already knew because he gave all these cards with um, anything like for transportation to bring his father and his family back here. So now he's going to announce to Pharaoh that his family is here. Verse 32, the men are shepherds. They tend livestock and they have brought along their flocks and herds and everything they own. When Pharaoh calls you and asks, what is your occupation? You should answer, your servants have tended livestock from our boyhood on, just as our fathers did. Then you will be allowed to settle in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are detestable to the Egyptians. So Joseph instructs when Pharaoh is calling his family and then asks for the occupation to see that they are like they are the one attending the sheep and all that, the flocks, and then of course there'll be the region that is for the flocks will be Goshen. And why? They will allow them to go because shepherds were detestable to the Egyptians. I don't know why, because they were not because shepherds, I don't think Egyptians will have shepherds. They have camels. They think that they actually not value shepherds much in Egypt. They have other things. They were like worshippers of all kinds of things. Even I guess even the snake that had on the head, made of I guess gold. I know Egypt was a big land and wealthy and had everything what it need. Greens and all that grass would not be a problem. So Goshen was the part then to stay. So Joseph, the way in chapter 47, Joseph went and told Pharaoh, my father and brother, so exactly what they were talking. He's coming to Pharaoh and discuss again to make sure he allows them to come and settle down there. My father and brothers with their flocks and herds and everything their own, have come from the land of Canaan and are now in Goshen. He chose 5 of his brothers and presented them before Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked the brothers, what is your occupation? Exactly what they were talking about. Your servants are shepherds, they replied to Pharaoh, just as our fathers were. They also said to him, we have come to live here for a while, because the famine is severe in Canaan and your servants' flocks have no pasture. So now please let your servants settle in Goshen. So they ask, as they were instructed by Joseph. At least the first time they should listen now. Hopefully they'll be obedient. Verse 5, Pharaoh said to Joseph, your father and your brothers have come to you, and the land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them live in Goshen. And if you know if any among them with special ability, put him in charge of my own livestock. So they have livestock, but it says they will probably more like consider more like servants than in a high rank. And it says they have special abilities like they are like more like Joseph. Put them in charge of, on Pharaoh's livestock if they want to get a position. Like they offer jobs if they want it. So that was nice of Pharaoh. Then Joseph brought his father Jacob in and presented him before Pharaoh. After Jacob blessed Pharaoh, Pharaoh asked him, "How old are you?" So the conversation with Jacob and Pharaoh. And Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The years of my pilgrimage are 130." Wow. Woo. People around here, they live like this is like 100 years old. There'll be like a celebration. You don't see that too often, but he was already 130 then when he arrived to Egypt. Right here, I would say I've seen people living maybe around 96 years old. Yes, not quite behind that, but it's like rare I see around 100. Like I probably see in my life one time. But 130, he already had a good life. Wow. Well, with struggles and all that. My years have been few and difficult, so he says, and they do not equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers. Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. So he discussed that his years were being few. So not as his father and grandfather, like Isaac and Abraham. He said his life were like much shorter than theirs and difficult. So imagine that, to lose your wife when is delivering the baby, like was Benjamin delivered Joseph, and then after that, and the wife dies, like the love of his life. And sometimes like he needed sometimes a comfort. He needed somebody to talk to, a person, an adult that will understand what he's going through. Losing Joseph, like pretty much he claimed like he was dead, and after losing Rachel, losing Joseph, and that was a little bit too much for him to handle. But now he is recovering Joseph back to him. So it's that the joy should come back into his heart. Verse 11. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land, the district of Ramesses, as Pharaoh directed. Joseph also provided his father and his brother and all his father's household with food according to the number of their children. So he gave them all what they needed. Wow. Well, he was in charge of that. Well, in the grains, but he was in charge of delivering food and all that, like selling grains or, but still the food was actually, whenever was lack, he was in charge of. And he said that he understood his destiny, Joseph. As soon as he understood his destiny, everything like came back to him in, I was saying, double portion, in joy, in love, in everything, like it was given back to him, his family, everything. He understood that his destiny was to go ahead of time, prepare all these grains and all that for the famine to come, that he can save everybody, all his brothers, well, stepbrothers, brothers, all of Jacob's descendants were saved because of Joseph. Wow. I was going like, let's keep going. Well, I don't want to make it too long, so I think we should stop here. We'll be continue next time, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy it. Till next time, I say goodbye. Goodbye now.